Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and this is going to be an updated patch preview for 11.3. Mark Yetter just released the updates for the champion nerfs. So if you watched my preview a couple of days ago, they didn't have the champion numbers. Now they do. They also changed a couple of item numbers here, so I'm going to go over that just really quickly, and then we'll go over and mostly cover the champion stuff here in just a little bit. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. I'm always putting out fresh new content for you, so you can always check back every day. Find something new to watch and learn about. And then we stream every night starting around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually go till about 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very friendly, chill community. We'd love to have you. I try to be as conversational as possible while I'm playing, talking about League or just any other random thing that people want to talk about. And you can also check out the replays of the stream if you can't make it live, if that's a little too late for you. It's always saved on YouTube on a playlist at the very top of the channel. And I'm going to try to start putting timestamps in there again, so if you want to try to look and see if I played a certain champion that night, you can look down in the description and see which champions I played at which times. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. So Dead Man's Plate, this is the same. They are dropping 75 off of this. It actually has been played on quite a few champions that have high win rates right now. So I know Udyr is running this. Cho'Gath was running this. I think that Darius is like a third item was sometimes running this. So last time I said I didn't think it was that popular. It turns out it kind of is on a lot of these like mobility tanks. I think Garen runs it as well. And a lot of that crew has a 54 or higher % win rate. So they are nerfing that. So that's going to suck for Bard. But I guess balance-wise they're doing it to nerf some of the bigger tanks that are causing some problems. Staff of Flowing Water going from 60 to 50. This is okay. The buff is still worth about 1,000 gold each. It's an extremely powerful item. So paying a little bit up front just to make sure that it's going to be fair is good. I mean, once you set this buff, it's basically going to be at least 70 for you when you get it in the early game, all the way up to like 80 ability power on an item that's only 2,300 gold. So it's still going to be very, very good personally for the user. And then it still has the big buff for everybody else. So I think that's fine. Zhonya's Hourglass, 100 extra gold. This is going to be an indirect buff to things like Zed, Talon, just a lot of those other mid laners that really don't like to go against Zhonya's. So it's going to help out the AD bruisers a little bit, which I think they're doing okay right now, but they just complain constantly about this item. So maybe that's fair for them. So that's going to make that matchup a little bit tougher. Iron Spike Whip doesn't have as much wave clear. So if you're a champion that needs this to clear either minions or monsters that take double damage below 50%, that could be a big deal. Now, especially on junglers, and that's what builds into Gore Drinker. So on junglers, this is going to matter more, I think, because the time of your wave clear, like how fast you can clear, matters more in the jungle than it does in the lane a lot of times. Because in top lane, sometimes you don't want to perma push. Sometimes you do, but a lot of times you want to freeze or keep it in the middle so that you're not exposing yourself to ganks. So really the junglers who would be affected by this, Kayn obviously, I'm trying to think of other Gore Drinker junglers. I think that Hecarim might get this sometimes, although there's a lot of items he can get, like Stride Breaker, Trinity. There's a lot of different things he can get, so he doesn't have to get Gore Drinker. Olaf obviously would be a big one here, so it's definitely going to hurt the wave clear of some of those junglers. I guess the most notable ones would be Olaf and Kayn in the meta, and then I don't know, Lee Sin I think gets this some too. So it'll matter a little bit, particularly for junglers. For top laners, it'll hurt the wave clear on like Camille and Fiora a little bit, but it'll probably be okay. Now this is the bigger nerf here. The completed Gore Drinker, the active is going from 12% down to 8% of your missing health. So that's very significant. You know, if you hit 5 targets before, it was a 60% heal. Now it's going to be a 40% heal. So I still think that it will be a powerful item, you know, on champions like Renekton, who can get it in the top lane. But there might be some other ones that other people might want to explore on, like maybe Camille, Fiora, some of these other top laners. I think there will be other items that could potentially be okay, but, you know, for Aatrox, Renekton, Olaf, Red Kayn, you know, where Gore Drinker is kind of their core item, it's definitely going to be a step down. But those champions have been pretty powerful for quite a while now. So that's definitely going to be a hit. I think it'll still be a viable item, but they just won't be quite as oppressive as they have been. they might have to actually buy more tanky items other than just Gore Drinker, Sterix, like Ravenous Hunter, that type of stuff. You might actually, dare I say it, see an item with some armor or magic resist on it. And then Ravenous Hydra. Now, this one's pretty significant. Going from 15 to 10 is a lot on Ravenous Hydra. So this is, primarily going to be kind of the fighter type of champs, the Camille, the Fiora, stuff like that. I don't think that Renekton usually gets Ravenous. He might, but usually a lot of those champs will opt for Sterix. And Ezreal actually gets this item, strangely enough, a lot of times. I think he's the only ADC that gets it, but there's a couple of other corner cases where this might affect him. But, he can just get Blade the Rune King and probably be okay. And as far as, like, Darius and Garen, who are two of the, easiest to play, but also really effective top laners, this is really good news for them because I don't think they get either one of those items, the Gore Drinker or the Sterix. They both get Stride Breaker, so that's actually could be a really big buff for them. They might, gain a couple of percentages because a lot of their competition is going to get nerfed. And then Sterix Gauge. Now, this is just all around just way too strong of an item. I talked about this in the preseason. They are nerfing the shield by about 100, but it does come with 400 bonus health on it. It usually accompanies Gore Drinker. I don't remember. I think Stride Breaker also has health on it, I believe. A lot of those bruiser items are going to have like 400-ish health. So I think the shield is for 100% of your bonus health. So it's like 1,000 shield or something by the time you get Sterix second item and you include your runes and you have, Sterix plus some other health item up front. It's probably about 800 to 1,000. So yeah, you're losing 100 on it, but if you were already getting like 1,000 shield, it's really only a 10% nerf to that shield. So it's still going to be extremely powerful. I think it'll be okay. Just trimming the fat a little bit, but it's still going to be a really, really powerful item. Okay, Force of Nature, extremely rare item. I mean, maybe Singed gets this. I think Cho'Gath was getting this a little bit, so kind of a weird buff there. But okay, I still think most people are going to go for Spirit Visage in a lot of cases. Frozen Heart, I talked about this last time. Really like this buff. That's going to make it a lot more viable for tanks in the bottom lane because I've been really kind of disenchanted with Zeke, the new Zekes. It just doesn't do as much damage as old Zekes did, I feel like, and like not having the little slow field on it feels kind of bad. So it's okay. Percentage-wise, it's performing all right. But Frozen Heart is very nice. The extra mana is actually quite important on someone like Leona, who spams her spells a lot. Nautilus is really going to like this, because a lot of the support tanks have been, hurting for mana because they got rid of Presence of Mind, primarily. Because you used to be able to take Presence of Mind for the 500, basically free mana, and you got the mana refund on kills and assists. It just fixed all of your mana problems as a tank, and then you could take the Tenacity rune, and that was a really good secondary to go. But now it's a lot harder to get the mana. Your made items that you're getting don't have any mana regen on them most of the time. It's Locket, or even if you go Kim Tank or one of those other bigger tank items, it's no mana. You can take Biscuits, which gives you 150 extra mana, which is helpful, but and Zeke's can give you like 250, but being able to just go for Frozen Heart to fix the mana by getting 400 mana is very nice, and it has heavy armor on it. Zeke's only has, I think, 30 armor. It does have health, but if you really want that heavy armor option, if they have like 4 ADs on the enemy team, then the armor could be very good. And having the 15% cripple as well as the whatever it's called, the extra damage reduction, the 10% or so extra damage reduction post mitigation on any source of damage, including magic, could be quite strong. So I think that actually could be a pretty strong item to get secondary after this. So we'll see. I don't know if it's going to move the needle as far as win rates go, but it's going to be a very good option against heavy AD comps. Because we all know that champions like Leona need more options because they haven't been impressive enough for a while. But anyways, that's really nice. Kim Tank Purifier, I think it's going to be a very big deal, and I think a lot of people are going to overlook this. I think this item is already pretty respectable, more so than people think. Now, they are nerfing a lot of the major healing things, right? Like the Gore Drinker, the Ravenous. But you're still going to see Ravenous Hunter out there. They nerfed it last patch, but it's still strong. You're still going to see Conquer. People are still going to build Gore Drinker. The big offender is going to be Moonstone. I think Enchanters are going to get a bit stronger next patch. and Kim Tank is for enchanters. So being able to cut that Moonstone is a very big deal. And there's a big difference between a 40% healing reduction and a 60% healing reduction. So I still think there's going to be a ton of healing out there. Also, it's a pretty big buff to Immortal Shield Bow, so you might start seeing that more on AD carries. So yes, they are nerfing some of the healing out there, but I still think there's going to be a ton, and I still think there's going to be a high demand for something like Kim Tank Purifier. Or it's Putrifier. Okay, I don't know why I kept calling it Purifier for so long. You'd think I could read as an English person. Putrifier. Okay. So it gives you 20 ability haste, which is really nice, and then it has 50 ability power on it and 100% mana regen. So it's a very handy ability. It's going to be at least 100% efficient, maybe more so after that. And then healing and shielding an ally is going to cause their next attack to put grievous wounds on the target for 60 seconds. Now this is a very big deal because of the Font of Life rune. So we'll pull up here. Basically, whenever you slow somebody, it puts this debuff on them for 4 seconds, and then anyone that attacks that person, it has to be a basic attack. It can't be a spell. But anyone who basic attacks that person gets a small heal from you. Now, the heal usually isn't that much, but it does count as a heal from you. It's not lifesteal from the enemy. It's a heal from you. So it triggers Ardent Censer. It triggers Staff of Flowing Water. So you already want this rune. If you're getting Staff of Flowing Water or Ardent Censer, this is almost a must-have rune. Because if you just, like, Janna W someone, for instance, slow them, your entire team auto-attacks them. Now you just put the Ardent Censer buff and the Staff of Flowing Water buff on your entire team. And they can refresh it for up to 4 seconds. So if your AD carry keeps auto-attacking, then they're going to get that, you know, Staff of Flowing Water buff for up to 7 seconds if they hit them right before it expires on the 4th second, right? Whereas normally if you just shield them, it would just be a 3 second. And you could only put it on one person. So this is an extremely powerful rune if you're getting any of those items. And the Putrifier is going to work in the exact same way. Where you put this up, everyone auto-attacks that person, that 60% grievous wounds is going to be applied to that person or anyone else, you know, that your allies attack after them. So really, really powerful. This is going to be one of the best ways you can distribute and keep a 60% debuff on people the entire time. Because with Thornmail, you either have to CC them or they have to attack you. With Executioners, you know, the AD carry has to keep attacking the same target. It's probably only going to be on one person. And you can do this as the support, which means your AD carry doesn't have to build the Executioners anymore. Your mid laner doesn't have to build Morellonomicon anymore. So it's a really, really powerful pickup. And it only costs 2,300 gold. So it's very, very nice. Now, people might still sit on Oblivion Orb, but this is definitely going to entice them to step it up. Because Oblivion Orb, you're basically paying 200 gold in order to get the Grievous Wounds effect, right? But this, it's basically free because it's already going to have really good stats on it, and the price tag is only 2,300, and it's 60% instead of 40%. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see more builds that are something like, you know, Moonstone into Putrifier, or at least Moonstone, get half of it, get the Oblivion Orb, finish Staff of Flowing Water, and then get Putrifier. Because in a lot of games also, you're going to be really hurting for money. When I looked at it in the preseason, my average games are like 7,500 gold. And most of the time, that's not enough to afford 3 items. But if you're going, you know, your Mythic for 2,500, Putrifier, and Staff of Flowing Water, then all of a sudden you might be able to afford that, right? Especially if you get the free boots option with Ionians, which I've been getting quite a bit on Maokai, and I think it's very good on a lot of enchanters who don't need to rush boots. That can save you a bit of money as well. So the budget has been tight this season. It's really hard to complete that 3rd item, but if you get something that's a little bit cheaper here, that's 2,300, that has such an outsized impact, I think it'll be really good. So this item is going to be the item of the patch, but I don't think a lot of people are going to talk about it. I don't think a lot of people are going to get it. It's a big deal, though. You heard it here first. Okay, Immortal Shield Bow. They were going to give it 10 extra AD. They dropped it back to 5. I think this is still probably pretty good. Kraken is 65, I believe, so Kraken is probably still going to be the default. They do want to make this weaker offensively because it's such a powerful buff. It's a lot of lifesteal, and that shield really comes in clutch against assassins. But especially on people who already use this, like Samira and Draven would probably like something like this. You might even see this on someone like Jen from time to time. maybe Misfortune, just someone who's not going to be auto-attacking a lot in order to make good use of Kraken, and someone who doesn't necessarily want Gale Force. I think this could be a good option. So yeah, that's a big deal. That's adding on like an extra, like almost 300 gold value onto this item. So that's really nice. Or Dominix. This is a crazy buff. 10% extra armor pin is huge. This item's already okay. I think maybe a lot of people are going Serelda's Grudge, but the fact that this has heavy AD on it, armor penetration, and crit, and you do an extra, 0 to 15% damage depending on how much more max health the enemy has. There's a lot of people with a lot of max health. A lot of Sterics are still going to be running around, Gore Drinkers. There's a lot of beefy things out there. So this kind of thing on this buff on someone like Misfortune or Jin or just someone else who is just doing that really hard-hitting damage, especially when you combine this with the Collector, which is adding that flat lethality on top of it, and the extra AD and the crit, just going to be huge. So I think you might see a lot of people that are going to be going for one of these like Gale Force into Collector, now into Lord Doms. It is kind of awkward because that's going to compete with Infinity Edge, probably as the third item, because you're always going to get Collector on almost every major ADC, and then you have to have a Mythic, and then all of a sudden it comes down to, do you want Infinity Edge or do you want Lord Doms? So I think Lord Doms would almost certainly be what you would get fourth. I don't know. I'd have to look at the math to see if you would do it over Infinity Edge, but it's possible. Like, it has less AD. I guess, the crit's the same, but you get the crit modifier on Infinity Edge. I guess it's just going to come down to, how much does the 35% armor pen and the additional, 10% at least damage. I think it might be more than Infinity Edge. It's certainly cheaper than Infinity Edge. So, I think it might be more popular. I think Infinity is like 34 and Lord Doms is 29. So I think you might get Lord Doms third instead of Infinity Edge. Might depend on the champ and the AD scaling, like I said before, but I could definitely see it, especially in tanky matchups. And then Verdant, so you get a little extra MR, and the cost is down. That's actually pretty nice. And then Banshee's Veil is going to be a huge buff, so 15 extra AP for only 100 gold. That's over a 300 gold value. So this is going to be huge. You're going to see a lot more of these like long-range mages, especially when you combine this with Horizon Focus, which is also getting 15 extra AP. And the Hyper Shot, you only have to be 700 range away when you hit somebody now. So that might open up some possibilities for like an Orianna or a Syndra or something to consider Horizon Focus a little bit more. But that's going to, if more and more people go Banshees, that's going to be extremely good against Engage, and really bad news bears for things like Bard, Leona, Thresh, Blitz, and that means that Enchanters are going to be a lot stronger potentially. So if you have like, one or two mages running that Banshee's Veil, this is going to be super good for things like Xerath, Vel'Koz, Ziggs. I don't know if they're going to be full-on meta, but you get your Mythic, and then if it's a mage-on-mage matchup, you just might see Banshee's second item. Just rush Banshees almost every game, because it's got 80 ability power, it's got a lot of magic resist, and it's got that bubble, so you can't get engaged on. So I don't like to see that as a support who plays a lot of Engage, but that's certainly going to be very, very strong. Obviously, Zoe's going to like this type of thing with the Horizon Focus already being a staple on her. But we'll see. Yeah, that's some mage-on-mage stuff is going to be getting pretty brutal there. Okay, and then Silvermare Dawn, so they're giving it a little extra AP, a little extra health. I think this is the Bruiser Quicksilver Sash, so it's okay. Maybe you have a little bit more reason to complete it, not just sit on the QSS itself. Probably still just sit on the QSS, though. Okay, Leeching Leer, Omnivamp is going down to 5% at all ranks, and then Riftmaker is going down to 8% at all ranks. This is a really big nerf. They were scaling this, I thought. They were talking about scaling it from like 8 to 12, and the same thing with Ravenous. They were going to go like 8 to 12, or maybe even 8 to 16, but they've decided just to go with a really low number on it. So that's going to be a really big hit to, I think, who actually got Riftmaker? Like Singed, Mordekaiser, I don't think Vlad got it. I don't know. There will be a few champs that get hit by this. The extra health is sort of whatever. Okay, for each, the Mythic passive is now 8 AP and 2% Omnivamp, so it doesn't have the pin. Okay, so if you have 3 items, you'd get to 12%. That's a pretty big hit. I think if you have another alternative, which a lot of those champions do, most of them, you probably want to do something else. Okay, and then Eclipse is also getting nerfed for some reason. Almost nobody goes for this item, but that I remember. There's a couple, but like Pantheon, I don't know, maybe Senna. 8% Omni Vamp instead of 10, and then the shield is you're gaining like 15 shield. 9. Oh wait, hold on. They are increasing the shield. Okay. Okay, I thought they were decreasing. Okay, so they're increasing the shield to 180. So you're getting 15 extra shield if you're a ranged champion in exchange for not having the Omni Vamp. Obviously, it will help out in burst situations, but will be less sustained. I don't know. Probably won't matter that much, honestly. Okay, let's look at the champion stuff here. All right, Olaf. So his base health is now going down a little bit, 20 or so. All right, whatever. And he gets a little bit less attack speed based on missing health. This is probably okay. This is a fair nerf. Oh, you guys can't actually... I can't move that. Okay, hold on. I'll move the camera over here for you. Okay, we'll close that. Well, now that's covering whatever. That's fine. I'll just read the last part for you for real. But okay, that's fair. You got to keep in mind they're also nerfing Gore Drinker and they're nerfing Sterix. I don't think he gets Ravenous, but they're nerfing several things that he does. So this should bring him down a little bit. He does have like a 56% win rate right now, so he definitely needs to get hit a little bit. And I think this is fair. They're keeping his healing intact. They're keeping his true damage and his ultimate intact. So I still think he'll be good. Usually he deletes people so fast anyways once he gets 1 or 2 items. Squishy targets. I don't think it's going to matter that he might drop like 1 or 2 auto attacks. Maybe like 1 auto attack. So he's going to be missing if he's at like 1% health. He's going to be missing 30% attack speed. So it matters, but I still think he'll be pretty good. Okay, Cho'Gath. His Vorpal spikes are going down. He's losing 12 damage at max rank. This is what he's been maxing. But you got to keep in mind, in a lot of scenarios, it's going to be 18% of their max health. So 6% max health per hit. So if you're hitting like a 1500 health target, then you're hitting for 90. And then at least probably closer to 100 when you take into account a lot of the other stuff. Actually, no, that's right. Against a 1500 health target, it's probably like 100, 120, something like that. And then you count this on top of it. You know, if you were doing 180 damage, now you're going to be doing 100 and, you know, whatever, 160, 165. So I don't think it's that much. I mean, we're talking like basically a 10% or less reduction, probably closer to like 7 or 8% reduction on his E damage. And he still is going to have, you know, the burst damage from his Chomp, his combo with his Q and his W. So overall damage reduction in his kit in most fights is probably going to be less than 5%. So I think that's fine. I don't see him a lot personally, and I haven't seen him in pro. He does have a high win rate, like 56 or 57% right now. I think the change to Frostfire Gauntlet was good for him, which is what he's been taking most of the time. But I don't think it's going to move the needle that much on him. Pantheon now deals 70% damage to monsters. This is going to hurt Jungle Pantheon quite a bit. And then his Q cooldown is up 5 seconds early. So that's going to hurt his poke a little bit. I guess during all-ins, he's only going to be able to Q once or twice. I'm okay with this. I think this champion is really overrated right now. He feels very gimmicky. Like, he's really good early if he gets ahead. But his ultimate does help him sort of snowball as well, but if everyone else starts getting items, you know, he can definitely be dealt with. I played a game yesterday, and the enemy Pantheon had like 16 kills, and we still won. It just didn't matter at the end of the day that their mid lane Pantheon had all those kills. He just couldn't do anything late game. So, I don't know. He's short. Nerf him a little bit. It's fine. I don't necessarily think that he needs the nerf. He is banned all the time in pro, though, so I guess there's something going on there. He is annoying to go against. I mean, I I would not be that upset if he's out of the meta if I never see him in bot lane again. But realistically, I don't know if they needed to go this far. Okay, Rammus E cooldown is going to 12 seconds. I haven't really seen Rammus at all. Maybe like he's terrorizing like gold and lower or something. I mean, he's okay. He does gank a lot, but it's like Hecarim. Like, why is Hecarim not on this list? If you're trying to nerf somebody who is like a really obnoxious early game ganker who scales and does some crazy thing like Hecarim, Nunu, like there's a lot of champs that do this type of thing. So I don't know. Sure, whatever. Anivia Q is... Remember, this pops twice if you explode the Q on him, so it's taking 10 damage off. So now instead of doing 420 damage off of a basic ability, now you're only doing 400. And instead of having a 1.0 AP ratio, it now has a 0.9. Okay, that's not going to matter that much, I don't think, in the grand scheme of things. And this is not the thing that she spams. She spams the E, which does a ton of damage. So the Q does some damage up front, but it's that E that ends up being like a 2-second cooldown or something that's the real problem. And then the R cooldown is going to a 2-second minimum. Usually in fights, Anivia just keeps this on anyways. Sure, I don't think this is going to move the needle too much on her. But... It'll nudge her a little bit. Now, something, I don't think she's going to get, like, Banshees, which she usually gets, like, Ludens and a tier item. I guess she could go Banshees third. Or, I mean, maybe she goes Leandri's. I don't know. But something like Banshees might be decent for her to make it even more difficult to engage into her. Okay, Elise is, you max your Q first. Now, this is just human form Q, so that's just your Venom Spit. So that's like your opener in a lot of fights. You're losing 20 damage on that at later ranks. So you'll still be really strong early game. And then the Spider attack speed being dropped by 40. I think you max the W second. So that's going to hurt you, especially when you're trying to take Baron or Dragon or something like that. Okay, that's fine. She'll still have enough burst damage to kill you probably, and she'll be a little weaker in sustained fights where she's sitting there auto-attacking a lot, which is mostly against things like Baron and Dragon. So, okay, sure. Ivern is losing 10 health per level, so he's going to lose 50 health by level 5. Fine. That might matter a little bit really early on, but probably not that much. 20 getting knocked off the shield at later ranks is probably okay. He still has a huge AP ratio on the shield, and then they aren't nerfing Moonstone, and they're just barely tapping Staff of Flowing Water, so I still think he'll be pretty strong. He'll be 54% plus. Seraphine passive, so her note damage is doing less, which is going to matter more for support. Okay, the base shield is going down 10 early. You don't put multiple points in this typically. Okay, why does it say 60 to 100? Because I didn't even think the shield went up as you put more points into it. But okay, a little bit weaker on the shield. Base shield is going to what? W base shield is 60 to 120 to 50 to 100. Okay, and then the W Seraphine shield is 90 to 180, and then 150 to or 70. I don't know. Okay, so they're nerfing her shield. Probably okay. She's got a lot of excess power right now, so less shield and then less damage off of her notes. Still has a powerful ultimate. Still has good poke damage. Didn't affect her mana cost. It's probably okay. The R aura damage is going for... It's going from 50 to 300 to 50 to 275. And this is fine. A lot of Udyrs are still doing Tiger Stance and are still doing fine anyways, and this is only that third proc, I think. So that's okay. He should still be pretty strong with all the movement speed things, especially because they're nerfing a lot of the competition. He doesn't get that lifesteal stuff. I guess they are nerfing Deadman's on him, but he doesn't usually get Sterix or Gore Drink or anything like that. Okay, and then Talia, this is something I was hoping they would nerf about her if they were going to nerf something. The movement speed is going down. Actually, no, wait, it's going up. What? So they're increasing her movement speed, especially at early levels, to take it to 20%. Jeez. And then the Q stone damage to monsters is 80% after the first one. So they're nerfing her clear in the jungle, but they're making her much faster. I don't know. We'll have to see on the clear. It seems a little weird. I mean, knocking off 20% of the damage is a big deal, but also, like, getting that extra movement speed is a big deal, too. So, we'll see. Not as much of a nerf as I thought there would be. Okay, Karma is getting some crazy regen now, so she's getting 13 regen, and you gotta keep in mind, like, as a support, you're gonna be getting a lot of mana regen items, right? You're gonna be getting either Mandate or Moonstone, then probably Staff of Flowing Water, Putrefier, you know, all that stuff's gonna have mana regen on it, so that base number does matter quite a lot. Then her Q mana cost is going from 65 to 55. Is that at all ranks? No way. So they're saying that's base, and then it still scales up. No, wow, it is that at all ranks. So it's going to be 55 at all ranks. Jeez. So, I mean, and they're giving you, like, you can just actually spam your spells all day, bot lane. I mean, she almost is, if not literally, then pretty close, the lowest win rate mainstream support. That's not like a meme support, other than, like, Tom Kench. But yeah, so I guess she does need some serious buffs, but that's some big buffs right there. Yeah, you're gonna be really good in like push poke type of lanes potentially. Silas, okay, the Q mana is going down to 55 at all ranks. Wow, okay. W damage is going up 5 base and then 0.5 AP on the W. Huh. Okay. Now his W, I think, is the Kingslayer, right, where he gains like 1 billion health. Those are pretty big buffs, especially the Q mana cost. You're going to spam that. I don't know if people would max Q. Last time I've seen Silas, he was in the meta. It was the Kingslayer was the reason why. He would just kind of go tanky and then just be really hard to kill and use Kingslayer. So I don't really know what's up with him. I guess he probably doesn't have a good good keystone right now after they nerfed out. Like a lot of the melee mages, like Diana and Silas, they just don't have good keystones. And they are nerfing the Omnivamp thing, Riftmaker, on this patch, which might be one of his main ones. Maybe he could literally build some kind of tank one. I don't know. People would have to get creative. I'd have to look at his ratios. I don't think he has any AD ratios, so stuff like Stride Breaker probably wouldn't be good. I don't really know. But okay, sure. I think he's an interesting champ to have in the meta, especially people get really creative in pro. Like, if he's in pro and he gets picked sometimes mid lane, it'll bring in stuff like Corki because Corki doesn't have an ult that he wants to steal, and it'll like get people to play different kinds of comps other than just like, you know, press R, you know, team fight type of comps with Orianna every game and stuff like that. So I don't know how he works against Orianna actually, because he doesn't get a ball, does he? I guess he just personally gets the shockwave on himself. I'm not sure how all those interactions work, but either way, I think he's an interesting champ to have in the meta, so I wouldn't mind him coming back in. Singed, the Q AP ratio is 80. Now what? Goes to 90% over 2 seconds. Is that that's not his poison, is it? His W's is goo. It was already an 80 on the poison ratio? I don't think Singed is that bad. I mean, I don't know the stats on him, but that is his poison. Wow. I did not realize the ratio was that high on it. That's kind of nuts. Because it's going to do that damage to him. It just is over 2 seconds. Huh. Jeez, that's a really big buff to like AP Singe. So like the what is Singe? I mean, just like the double burn, right? Leandri's Demonic Embrace would be really good on him. Okay, yeah, that's pretty significant if you're going AP Singe. Now, if you're going for like some kind of Singe like with Deadman's, obviously, it's not going to be good on this patch, but I think that the full-on AP version might be something that could be good. Riven's ECD. Now, what is the E? Is that her shield? I should have looked that one up before. I forgot to look at a couple of these. But either way, that's either her shield or her stun. Or not yeah, because her combo is Q. So I think this is a pretty big buff for Riven, too. Right? 2 seconds off is big on a champion that, you know, really heavily relies on these combos. Yeah, that's her shield. So that's really nice for Riven. Now, I'm not exactly sure what she takes. I think she was taking the Gore Drinker package, but she could go for something else in theory. But yeah, that's really nice because it's not only a shield, but that's also part of her mobility, right? Where she can like get away or dodge something or gap close or whatever. And there's a lot of CDR out there right now too, or ability haste. So you could probably get that pretty low. That seems really big, really, really big buff to like good Riven players. So, and Riven is an interesting champion. I like having Riven in the meta too. I know a lot of people hate on Riven, but I think she's, you know, a fun champ, and she, you know, there's counterplay to her. She takes skill to play. I mean, I would much rather have something like Riven or Yasuo or Yone, like stuff like that being in the meta rather than, or like being very powerful rather than like Darius or Garen, you know, where they're just going to beat you down with their stats. Okay, Jinx is getting an extra 25 range. I assume that's Q extension range. I assume that's her her rockets, right? That she's getting the extra rocket range there. 25 range is a big deal. So that's actually really, really nice for team fights. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily going to bring her all the way back into the meta, but that's certainly very good if you enjoy playing Jinx. Ezreal, the Q-AD ratio is going up by 10%. That's pretty good. I don't know if that's going to be enough to like bring him all the way back in. The nerf to Manamune was a pretty big hit to him. So, I don't know. I thought Essence Reaver might be a thing people would try on him, but that doesn't seem to be working out. So I don't know. Okay, I'm cool with that. As much as I talk, you know, about Ezreal, and I'm like, God, I hate having Ezreal on my team and stuff like that when I'm playing, I think he is actually a really cool champ, and I like it when he's decent in the meta. I think he's a very diverse and unique kind of AD carry, and it's not his fault that a lot of people just can't play him well, because he's a very difficult champ to play. But I think he's probably good for the game if he's around. He just opens up a lot of different team comps in Pro. As long as he's not the dominant pick and everybody's picking like Tahm Kench Ezreal every game or something like that, I think he's useful to have in your pocket in Pro, especially if you want to, you know, make your bottom weak side and play around top and middle and just have something safe. I think he's interesting strategically in the game, and he's very unique. So I don't mind this buff. Okay, Mordekaiser, his ECD is, I don't know what the E is, but it's going down by 2 seconds. That's probably fine. That's probably his grab, I would imagine. He's going to need more buffs than that because they just nerfed the hell out of Riftmaker, and I don't think he can go for anything else. I think he has to have Riftmaker. So don't like to see that. Vladimir, wow, what a buff. 120 seconds on his ult, starting at level 6 is big. I think he has a lot of kill threat, and he can really like put up some damage in team fights with that ultimate. So we'll see. Now, yes, the Putrefier is getting buffed, but a lot of people are not going to build it probably. The fact that a bunch of other healing is also getting nerfed does help him, because then it's less likely that people are going to get grievous wounds, right? So if you have someone top lane, if you have like a, I don't know, Aatrox starts going for Eclipse or something like that, or Renekton goes for Eclipse instead of Gore Drinker, maybe that top laner is a lot less likely to get those grievous wounds than if you want to roam top, you know, and make a play. They don't have grievous wounds, you know, you're going to be a lot more powerful as Vladimir. So there's a chance that because they nerfed healing, people may not play stuff like Olaf, Aatrox, Red Kayn. They may not play those champs as much, but also those champs might opt for other items with less healing components if possible. And so that means that any champ that already has healing in their kit that's really based on it without items is going to be a little bit stronger, right? Like Mundo, Vlad, Soraka, they're going to go up a little bit if Grievous Wounds goes down. At least it's going to be a much higher opportunity cost. It's going to be further out of their way to build Grievous Wounds just for you if no one else is really healing that much. So probably won't move the needle too much as far as win rate goes. But this is nice. I don't think he's that bad, right? I mean, he's like 50 or 51%, I think. He's not terrible. But yeah, that's a really nice buff. So if you like Vladimir, I think that's going to be really solid for you. And then Shyvana, this is a really interesting one. The AP ratio on your Q is going to go to 40%, and you've got a movement speed on your W of 8% per 100. Nashor's Tooth happens to have 100 on it. Now, it does not have the 20% CDR on it anymore, or the ability haste, which was something that Shyvana really, really needs with her E. Like, you've got to have ability haste. You can just throw as many E's as possible. They seem to be pushing for the AP Shyvana, which I think is the more interesting build than the AD Shyvana. So that's interesting. Now, the Q is just your twin bite, I think, right? That's not your E. So I don't know. That's going to be interesting. Maybe Lichbane or something would be a little more useful. I mean, you could have a lot of movement speed there. You're going to be really squishy if you go for something like that. So I don't know. I mean, you'd probably go for Night Harvester into Nashor's, into like Death Cap or something. But the movement speed is very, very nice, though. Having the extra 8% movement speed off of your first item. And really almost every item that you're going to get is going to be pretty close to 6, 7, 8% movement speed on it. And that's a big deal because she already moves pretty fast, and you know, her whole thing is just running around power farming everything. I think really a big thing with Shyvana though is there's just other champs that, like mostly Lilia, that are these like super power farm like AP type of champs. So I don't know. I don't think this is automatically going to make her OP, but it certainly is very interesting. She's not, once again, she's not that bad. She's like 50% or something. So she might go a couple of percentage points on that. And then the rel thing here just says ECD unbinding on self, 3 seconds to 1 second, some kind of bug fix. Should now properly buffer when cast on an ally outside of the range. So just like some bug fix stuff. So anyways, I think this is good. These are some very interesting changes. They are, you know, nudging some of the, you know, more powerful champions there. They're leaving Moonstone alone, which is, it's okay. It's okay to have it competitive. The Shurelya's has kind of fallen flat. I still think nobody gets that. I don't really like it on Rakan, so that was a little bit of a disappointment from last time. Moonstone feels like it is getting a bit on the strong side after the mandate nerfs, but I guess they're going to let it ride for a couple of patches. Hecarim's kind of conspicuously missing. I feel like he's getting played a lot in solo queue and in pro. I think in solo queue he's only like a 53, maybe a 54% win rate. Who else as far as like my final thoughts? Champs that I wish they were, you know, maybe doing something about. A lot of people are probably going to complain that Kai'Sa wasn't touched. I feel like Kai'Sa can be a little underwhelming sometimes in solo queue, but she does have a 43% pick rate. She's picked almost every game in pro, and 43 pick rate, 53.5 win rate is probably too good, especially in pro where she's got like 90% presence. Now, I don't know what they would do about her. I feel like maybe the missiles, the Q missile damage could be dialed back a little bit, or perhaps the scaling or something on it, but I think maybe tap the missiles a little bit. But they're not doing that. But everything else they've pretty much touched. I think that Darius, they did hit Sterix, because none of these changes are going to affect Kai'Sa that they had on this patch, I don't think. They did tap Darius indirectly with Sterix. He's probably going to be strong. Garen's still going to be strong. Udyr, we'll see. Will probably come down a little bit. I think Kha'Zix is okay. Thresh's okay. Leona's okay. So I think overall they did a pretty good job. Fizz is still pretty obnoxious, but he's not picked a ton. Galio maybe could have, you know, maybe a small tap on Galio or something like that. But overall, I think they've identified the most problematic champions, and they've tapped them a little bit, and then they've shown some love to some of the champions that are, you know, really weak down the totem pole. There are obviously other ones, you know, they could show a little bit more love to, but overall it looks like a pretty solid patch to me. Anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you very much. Have a good day, and we'll see everybody next time.